Isn't it just annoying when you spend hours upon hours of work only for you to die to some stupid baby zombie or because you forgot to put on your elytra? Well, that's why in this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to both survive and prevent these kinds of incidents from happening. First of all, if you're on a realm or a server, I would highly recommend that whenever you go out to do something or, you go adventuring, that you bring a couple friends along with you or just someone in the realm or server so that you guys can work together. And if one of you guys ends up in a bad situation, the others can come to your rescue. So anyways, the main ways to prevent yourself from dying or incidents like these from occurring is to just be prepared. I know that might sound a little bit obvious, but trust me, I cannot tell you how many times I have died because I was either unprepared or I forgot something at home. The kind of items you should be bringing around with you are building blocks to either bridge out, escape from mods, or trap yourself in a box. You should also be wearing armor wherever you go, and you should also be bringing all the tools and weapons necessary in order to survive. You should also bring torches wherever you go as well, because not only can it help decrease the amount of mobs that spawn around you, it can also be used in a case where you're suffocating and all you have to do is break one piece of gravel and then place the torch and then boom, you're saved. You should also make sure to bring plenty of food wherever you go so that you don't starve to death or run out of hunger. You should also bring a boat as well because boats are a fast way to travel through the ocean and rivers, and they also protect you from any drowns underneath the water. Another thing that you absolutely must bring wherever you go is a water bucket. Not only can water buckets be used for MLG water bucketing, but they can also help save you in lava encounters, and they can also help provide an easy way to climb up and down. Another thing you should be bringing around with you is a bed. Now, why a bed, you might ask? Well, for two reasons, actually. The first reason is so that you can easily skip night so that you won't have to deal with any mobs whatsoever. The second reason is so that when you're approaching an enemy structure with mobs inside it, an easy thing you can do is just place your bed down, set your respawn point so that if you end up dying, you'll respawn pretty much right where you died and you'll easily be able to get back your stuff. You should also be bringing around either a compass wherever you go, or you should write down your coordinates. Because if you end up getting lost, then that can be pretty bad. So whenever you go out adventuring, I would highly recommend that you either have the coordinates of your base down or you bring a compass with you. Because if you do not, then you could very easily get lost. You should also be bringing potions around with you if you can. Potions can not only be used to save yourself from lava, but they can also be used to help escape mobs or fight back against mobs. Ender pearls is also a really important item to have. Ender pearls are really helpful and a really useful tool to easily escape mobs. And not only that, but Ender pearls can also be used if you fall into the void. You can use an Ender pearl to teleport back onto the island. Now this one is pretty obvious, but you should be bringing any totem of undyings you have with you. Obviously though, if you're early or mid-game, then you're not really gonna have many totems of undying. So this is more for late game, but if you can, definitely bringing a totem of undying can help save your life. Also, make sure to bring plenty of arrows whenever you bring your bow around you. And also make sure to bring plenty of fireworks for when you're using your elytra. Now, obviously, not all of these items are absolutely necessary. It all depends on where you're going, how far you're going. It depends on a lot of factors, but these items can definitely help save your life if you've gotten yourself into a sticky situation. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is how to survive lava. Now, obviously, surviving lava in the nether is going to be different from surviving lava in caves. If you have a fire res potion, then please just drink the fire res potion. I mean, you're in a lava pool. If you're about to die, I think this is pretty obvious and self-explanatory. But if you don't have a fire res, then perhaps you can maybe use some ender pearls if you happen to have some in your inventory. You can use your ender pearls to teleport away quickly and safely. However, in a lot of cases, you don't have ender pearls or a fire res potion, in which case there are several things you can do. If you're in a cave lava pool, then all you have to do is grab your water bucket and place it above you so that the water will come flowing down and you'll be saved. If you don't have a water bucket, you can also try to dig out. However, if you're in the nether, this isn't really gonna work, obviously, because, well, there's not really a ceiling. I mean, there is, but it's pretty far up there. And lava lakes are generally really deep in the nether. So, you know, building up, it also isn't a very good idea. Also, if you place a boat on shore and then right click, you can get onto land quicker than you would swimming to the shore. So in that case, I cannot really give you any good tips on how to survive other than to just swim to shore as fast as you humanly possibly can. I do believe, though, that if you log out and then log back in, you'll have a brief moment of immunity where you can move for just like a split second, and then if you'll have to log out again really quick and then rinse and repeat. Now, I'm not 100% sure if this actually works, but I have seen people do it before, and if you're really desperate and you want to try it yourself, then go ahead. Now, the next section we're going to be talking about is drowning. Now, there are several ways you can escape drowning in Minecraft, and the obvious way is to just swim to the surface. But in some scenarios, you're not going to make it to the surface in time, and you're going to end up drowning. So in that case, there are a couple of things you can do in order to survive. First of all, if you have a really fast pickaxe, then you can dig into the wall and create an air gap for you to breathe in. Now, if you don't have a fast pickaxe and you're also not going to make it up to the top in time, then try using any kind of doors, trapdoors, ladders, signs, etc. in your inventory. However, if you don't have any of these items in your inventory, you can just craft these items by quickly making a crafting table or placing your crafting table down. Now, if you don't have any wood and you don't have a fast pickaxe and you can't find your way up to the surface, unfortunately, there's not really much you can do other than just swim as fast as you can up to the surface and hope that you make it in time. Also, a tip for those of you who are making water elevators, I highly recommend that while you're digging the holes for the water elevators, that you make little holes along the way so that when you're placing the kelp in the water elevator, you'll have places to breathe in so that you don't end up drowning. Because I've seen plenty of YouTubers who have literally died while making water elevators because of this. Now, the next part we're going to talk about is falling. Now, when you're falling, there's actually quite a lot of things you can do in order to survive. First of all, if you have an elytra, then please use your elytra if you can. If you don't have an elytra or you don't think you can put on your elytra on in time, then there are plenty of other things you can actually do to help save yourself from fall damage. You can try throwing ender pearls to reduce the amount of damage you take, or if you're falling down a cave, cliff, or ravine, you can try placing blocks in order to reduce your fall. You can also use certain blocks to reduce your fall damage once you hit the ground. For example, you can use hay bales to significantly reduce the amount of damage, and you can also use beds to reduce the amount of damage you take as well. You can also use items to completely reduce fall damage so that you don't take any damage whatsoever, such as cobwebs, ladders, boats, horses, and of course, the water bucket. Now, obviously, MLGing is not very easy. In fact, it is actually quite difficult. So I recommend creating a new world or going onto an already made test world and just building up a tall tower up in the sky, setting your spawn point there, give yourself a water bucket, and then once you've done all of that, you can just fall off and keep practicing. Now, I don't know about you, but the void is one of the most scariest places in Minecraft. Not only do you have little chance of surviving the void, but you also are guaranteed to lose everything in your inventory when you die to the void. So unfortunately, there really aren't many ways to escape the void and if you get yourself into this kind of situation. However, there are a couple of things you can do to survive. Now, the first thing you can do is, I think, pretty obvious. I've already said this multiple times throughout the video, but use your elytra. I mean, I just cannot tell you how many scenarios an elytra can really come in handy and save your life. However, if you don't have an elytra or you can't equip your elytra on in time, then there is actually one other thing you can do to survive. And that is, of course, using ender pearls. Ender pearls are really the only other way to survive the void. Ender pearls can be really helpful in this kind of scenario to help teleport you back onto the island. Just spam all your ender pearls as much as you can when you're in the void if you want to survive. However, if you don't have an elytra or ender pearls, unfortunately, there's not really much else you can do. And I'm sorry to tell you this, but you're totally dead. Alright, so the last and final section of this video is mobs. Now, if you're in a situation where there are just a ton of mobs on you, just a horde of mobs, then there are actually some ways and things you can do in order to survive and escape these dangerous mobs. In order to survive mob hordes, you're going to need to just run as fast as you can away from the building. Or maybe just block yourself in someplace, dig. Just do whatever it takes to survive. Bring your shield out, okay? Use your ender pearls, bring your elytra. Just use whatever you can to survive and try to block and deflect or dodge all their attacks. Also, if your hunger bars are low or are getting low, you must eat. Eating is very important in your survival. Eating is what allows you to heal and regain your health. And if you really want to, you can also dig a tunnel out away from the mobs and then dig up to the surface. Okay, so now I'm going to give you some tips on surviving specific mobs that act and behave a little bit differently than others. Now, the first mob are skeletons or any kind of ranged weaponed mob. Now, for these kinds of mobs, the best thing to do is to just block their arrow attacks. You have to wait for them to attack first, and then after they attack, you may either attack back or flee away. The next mob are Endermen. Now, Endermen are terrifying. I mean, they come at you from nowhere. They come all directions. Now, the best thing to do in order to survive these deadly creatures is to get under a 2-block tree, because Endermen are 3 blocks tall, whereas you're only 2 blocks tall. So if you get under something that only has a 2-block gap, then the Enderman won't be able to get you. However, if you do not have any trees nearby or anything you can use to help protect yourself from the Enderman, I would recommend stopping right where you are and then just spin around as fast as you can, because Endermen, they are really fast and they just teleport out of nowhere from a random direction. Now, the next mob on this list are creepers. Now, there are 2 ways to deal with creepers. Either you can let it explode and just have your shield absorb the explosion, or you can use a specific technique that I've actually been using for a while. If you walk up to a creeper, hit it once, and then immediately press backspace, then the creeper actually won't explode. And then you just do the same thing and keep repeating that process until you eventually kill the creeper. Now, the next mob on this list are Ravengers / Iron Golems. The best way to kill these mobs are actually not to face it head on, because they do a crap ton of damage. And I mean a lot of damage. So the best option in this case is to just build a pillar up and then just kind of lead him toward you and kill him up there. The next mob on the list is gas. And once again, there are 2 ways to fight gas. You can either shoot it down with an arrow like you would with any other mob, or you can also deflect its fireballs and prevent the fireballs from exploding. Now, the last mob on this list is the Warden. Now, obviously, the Warden is not something you can face head on. I mean, this thing is an absolute beast. And unfortunately, this is a mob you can't just run away from, because it will catch up to you and eventually it will get you. So the best option in this case is to just use ender pearls. Just use any kind of ender pearls you have to just quickly escape and get away, or use an elytra, of course, to fly away from the Warden. Now, of course, there are other ways to die, but those ways of dying are just a lot rarer and they're just a lot less common. So I didn't really think there'd be much of a point in explaining them. So with that, I'm going to conclude today's video. I hope you found these tips helpful. Let me know down in the comment section below if there's any things I missed in the video and any tips that you have for other people as well. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.